Perhaps we don't need to speak to the future after all. Perhaps it's enough to believe that the future is smart enough to listen. Ken Chapman, speaking to the future. It concerns the confluence of love and loss as the possible preemption of a future which is to come. These losses lie on the horizon of what is possible. The double contingency of dislocation and desire risks fatality within a certain structure of return, as that which, in being arbitrary, is unscheduled, is chance and freedom, and as that which, indifferent to our will or desire, is fated. Lily Cho, Future Perfect Loss. When confronted with the fact that I am 1,000 kilometers away from my home, and that physical feeling of being so far from it, it washes all over me, I find myself getting angry. I have lost so many things in there despite not being there. People I knew in the village that once raised me and surrounded me. Once again finding myself in a city, a country that is so disconnected from what I used to know. I had to stretch myself thin in the effort to assimilate and fit in the Western standards. In my work, I am constantly thinking about language and what is appropriate to show my colleagues in terms of my own culture. Yet I hesitate to say that there is an exhaustion that comes from taking something that is distinctly Filipino and creating something that would be easily understood by my non-Filipino, non-Southeast Asian Canadian peers. A constant explanation of my art and how it's tied to my identity and the issue that comes from the Philippines. You see, in Filipino culture, there is a widely accepted method of preparing animal intestines, and my absolute favorite is how the hands of the cook clean the intestines of the chicken and then piece them together in a way that resembles their original form inside the chicken's body. It is an organ that is bound to digest food ingested by the chicken, and in the form of a well-prepared, well-grilled chicken intestines over charcoal, or isaw, as we call it in my hometown, we Filipinos ingest it, and it ends up in our own intestines. It is in this statement that I offer you this metaphor. I am the cook, cleaning out the filth from the intestines of another, and hoping it is digestible for the customer, the viewer, the audience. Functioning as an artist in the diaspora, I often find myself using various metaphors, juxtapositionings in my art to imply a correlation between identity and location. Still, within my practice, it feels tired and worn down. See, I do not wish for it to disappear within my practice, nor am I implying that it is not important as it is useful, especially in this piece where I take on another person's story and tell it in a language that barely the majority speaks. In the notes I received after critique, there was one that stood out to me, and was the one that said to consider using surround sound to make the English recording louder so it's easier to hear, and to that I laugh at the irony of it. I am aware that this comment did not come and is not rooted in malice, and I am grateful for it. On a technical level, I should have prepared more speakers so that they were scattered enough in the space that was the installation room, but it was that comment that confirmed my suspicions and worst fears for my art. I have translated this heartbreaking testimonial and provided necessary information, access, and space for the audience to listen and to hear, and yet they demanded more, even when it was right in front of them. In the presence of social media, the internet, and technology, accessibility to language is now easily obtained within the palm of our hands. In my practice, I often question how much information I can communicate through my own art, how much narrative I can divulge with just context, and how I can boost that by omitting certain information that at first glance is not accessible but is, with little effort. Because at the end of the day, this piece, and my art in general, asks the same questions of a fellow diasporic writer, Ocean Vuong. Under what parameters and by whom does a racialized corpse get aestheticized as a still life?